I first saw him in the park on my way back from the city. I used to take a modern self-defense class there, but I still hoped I'd never have to use it. It was already evening, it was getting dark, and he was standing under a lamp. He was wearing a dark suit, a hat, probably holding some flowers, but I couldn't see his face. He didn't look dangerous or like a pervert, but in a way he scared me. Fortunately, it wasn't the only way through the park, so I went around him another way. The second time I saw him was at the store I go to. That was 3 days later. Still the same suit and hat, but now I could see his face. Shaved, rather pale, cool blue eyes. And the bouquet in his hands again, white lilies. They looked quite fresh. Maybe it was just a coincidence, or so I thought. But he was looking at me. He didn't speak. He didn't move from his place. I left. I met him like that a few more times, but it was always on Mondays and Thursdays. On the street near work, at the swimming pool, and finally in front of our apartment building. By then I knew he was some kind of stalker, but what was I supposed to do? Call the police. Should I tell them I was being harassed by a guy just standing on the street holding a bouquet of flowers? I at least told my husband about it, even though he's a bit of a hothead and might do something to him. He looked out the window and went right downstairs. But when he came out of the house, the guy wasn't there. Another Monday and another meeting. But I couldn't stand it anymore and went to confront him. I asked him what he was up to, what he wanted from me, but he just watched me with those cold eyes, never once speaking. I started screaming at him and knocked the flowers out of his hands. As always, they looked freshly cut, and this time I convinced myself that they weren't artificial. People were turning to look at the hysteric hollering at the gentleman in the well-fitting suit, just a successful end to the day. I started to apologize to him, but he just squatted down and started picking flowers. Slowly, deliberately, sort of lovingly, and yet as terrifying as any time I'd ever met him. I got a Facebook message from him over the weekend. He asked if I remembered the first time we met. Of course, I had no idea, maybe May, but I wasn't sure about that either. I didn't reply and looked at his profile. It was almost empty, no pictures of pets, family gatherings, or the gym. Not that I'd have pegged him for anything like that. Only his profile picture had white lilies and a hat, no face. I didn't even question the fact that he could find me, even though I was there under an alias. But after a while, he answered for me. It was May 6th. I was pretty sure he'd written it down in some sort of notepad. And then every meeting we had after that was pretty involuntary on my part. The days went by, and besides seeing each other every Monday and Thursday, he sometimes wrote me some philosophical questions and debated them with himself. Yes, he was scary, but actually harmless, kind of mysterious. Still, I never once wrote him back, but at the same time, I didn't block him either. Sometime in September, he wrote me that when a year had passed since we first met, we would see each other for the last time. I didn't understand what he meant, but I didn't reply this time either. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I even thought he was going to kill me. But why would he wait so long for that? And to live in fear until then. The thought began to grow stronger, but after a few days, it almost disappeared. I stopped taking in his messages and tried not to take in the man himself. It's December now. It's freezing outside, and he's still wearing his suit and his bouquet. He watches me, but he never moves more than a few steps. I see him outside our house too, but he doesn't bother me there anymore. He doesn't hurt anyone, and I prefer not to tell my husband. Sometimes I wonder if he even has any family, any friends. Actually, I kind of feel sorry for him. I'm sure I'll keep seeing him, and I don't know why I let the world know about him. Maybe someone else will meet him and find out who he is.
On May 6th, a woman was hit by a distracted driver in a crosswalk. Eyewitnesses say that a man in a suit stepped out of the crowd, took off his hat, placed a bouquet of white lilies next to her, and walked away again.